Haiyan Wu stared at the blinking red lights on his control panel and knew his day had just gone from bad to worse. The navigation system was completely dead. The jump drive made a grinding sound that no jump drive should ever make. His cargo ship, the Morning Delivery, shuddered as it dropped out of hyperspace in a location that definitely wasn't on his route. No, 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 Haiyan Wu muttered, frantically pressing buttons. He had a deadline. The mining colony on Outpost 7 needed their equipment in 3 days, and he was already cutting it close. His grandfather always said that a hauler's reputation was everything. Show up late once, and nobody trusts you again. The ship's emergency systems kicked in, and the main view screen finally activated. Haiyan Wu looked up and froze. Floating in space ahead of him was something impossible. A massive structure made of crystal and light, geometric patterns flowing across its surface like living things. It looked ancient and powerful, and completely out of place in the empty outer rim. Around the structure, Haiyan Wu counted at least 50 other ships. Big ones. Warships, luxury cruisers, vessels that probably cost more than everything Haiyan Wu would earn in his entire life. They formed a loose perimeter around the crystal structure, just watching it. What the hell is this? Haiyan Wu said to his empty cockpit. He tried the communications array, but of course it was fried too. Everything that could break had broken. The Morning Delivery was 40 years old, and Haiyan Wu kept her running through pure stubbornness and spare parts held together with industrial adhesive. He needed to check the external damage before his ship fell apart completely. Haiyan Wu pulled on his pressure suit, the old reliable one with the patch on the left arm where he'd torn it 2 years ago. The helmet still fogged up on the right side, but it held air, and that was what mattered. The airlock cycled open, and Haiyan Wu mag-locked his boots to the hull. He could see the problem immediately. The jump drive's main coupling had cracked, probably from the emergency drop. He'd need to replace the whole assembly, which meant finding a station, which meant being even more late. His boots touched down on something solid. Haiyan Wu looked down in confusion. He wasn't on his ship anymore. Somehow, he drifted onto a landing platform that extended from the crystal structure. The platform was made of the same flowing, light-filled material as the rest of the structure. How did I ... Haiyan Wu started to say, then stopped. The platform must have some kind of gravity system. It had pulled him in when he left his ship. He should get back to the Morning Delivery before something else went wrong. Then he heard the sound. It was like music, but also like machinery, but also like something else entirely. Haiyan Wu turned around and saw 2 massive gates opening in the side of the crystal structure. They were covered in symbols he didn't recognize, and they glowed with a light that hurt to look at directly. The gates were opening for him. Inside the nearest warship, alarms started screaming. Commander Tarkus of the Vorth Empire stared at his displays in disbelief. The Temple of Ascendance was opening. After 3 years of waiting, watching, and hoping, the temple was finally opening. But not for him. Not for any of the champions and heroes gathered in the fleet. For a cargo hauler in a ship held together with welds and prayer. "Get me a scan of that vessel," Tarkus roared. "I want to know everything about whoever's flying it." His tactical officer worked frantically. "Sir, it's a standard human freight hauler. 43 years old. Registry shows it belongs to someone named Haiyan Wu. No military service, no notable achievements, no criminal record beyond some parking violations." "That's impossible," Tarkus said. "The temple only opens for legends, for those who have achieved greatness beyond measure. I conquered 17 star systems. High Scholar Myong saved the Kelthian people from the Gray Plague. Captain Narration united the scattered clans, and it opens for a cargo hauler?" On another ship, Myong was having similar thoughts. She'd spent the last 2 years camped near the temple, studying every ancient text about it, trying to understand its mysteries. The Temple of Ascendance appeared randomly throughout the galaxy, and when it did, only beings of legendary status could trigger its gates. In 10,000 years of recorded history, fewer than 100 beings had been granted entry. Each one had emerged changed, granted abilities that shaped civilizations. The healer who cured the Plague Nebula had walked through these gates. The architect who moved stars to save a dying system had been chosen by the temple. Warriors, scholars, leaders who changed the course of history. And now a human cargo hauler who apparently once parked illegally. Mi Young pulled up every database she could access. Human named Haiyan Wu, 32 years old, solo freight operator. He'd been hauling cargo for 12 years. His customer satisfaction rating was excellent. He'd never missed a delivery, though several had been delayed by circumstances beyond his control. He paid his taxes on time. He sent money to his family on an agricultural colony moon every month. There was nothing legendary about him. Nothing at all. Haiyan Wu stood at the entrance to the temple, completely unaware of the chaos exploding across the observation fleet. He was pretty sure he shouldn't be here. The gates looked important, like they belonged to something official. But his communications were down. He couldn't call for help, and the gates were open. Maybe there was someone inside who could help him contact a tow service? Hello? Haiyan Wu called out. His voice echoed strangely in the crystal corridor beyond the gates. Sorry to bother you, but my ship broke down. Do you have communications I could use? The gates responded by opening wider. The musical mechanical sound grew louder. Haiyan Wu took that as an invitation. His grandfather always taught him to be polite and ask for help when he needed it. He walked through the gates, still holding his repair tools, leaving magnetic boot prints on the crystal floor. Behind him, the gates swung shut with a sound like singing stars. The observation fleet erupted into chaos. Ships broke formation. Communications channels overloaded with demands, questions, and accusations. 3 different governments claimed jurisdiction. 2 religious orders declared it a holy moment. One corporation tried to buy salvage rights to the morning delivery. Inside the temple, Haiyan Wu looked around at the impossible space. Corridors that seemed to go in directions that didn't exist. Lights that cast shadows upward. Rooms visible through walls that were definitely solid. This is the weirdest station I've ever seen, Haiyan Wu said to himself. He picked a corridor at random and started walking, still hoping to find someone who could help him call for a tow. He had a delivery to make, and he was already going to be late. The penalties for late delivery were going to hurt. But his reputation would hurt worse. Haiyan Wu had no idea that his reputation was about to become the most discussed topic in the entire galaxy. Corridor opened into a vast chamber that made Haiyan Wu's head hurt just looking at it. The walls showed moving images like videos, but more real, more present. He saw beings he didn't recognize doing impossible things. One image showed a warrior with 4 arms holding back an exploding star. Another showed a healer touching a dying planet and bringing it back to life. A third showed someone reshaping the fabric of space itself. These were the previous visitors to the temple. Haiyan Wu realized, though he didn't know that. He just thought they were really good special effects. In the center of the chamber sat a machine. It was small, maybe the size of a large toolbox, and it was clearly broken. Water leaked from a cracked housing. The power cell was corroded. The pressure gauge was stuck at 0. Haiyan Wu recognized it immediately. It was an irrigation pump, the kind used on agricultural colonies. The exact kind his grandfather had taught him to maintain when Haiyan Wu was 8 years old, living on that dusty moon where water was more valuable than gold. Huh, Haiyan Wu said, kneeling down next to the pump. This is a Series 4. They don't even make these anymore. He set down his repair tools and got to work. First, he checked the obvious problems. The power cell needed replacing, but he didn't have a spare. Instead, he cleaned the corrosion with solvent from his repair kit and rigged a bypass using wire from his pocket. Not pretty, but it would work. The cracked housing was trickier. Haiyan Wu pulled out his sealing compound, the same stuff he used to patch leaks in the morning delivery's hull. He carefully applied it to the crack, smoothing it with his thumb the way his grandfather had shown him. Slow and steady, the old man always said. Rushing makes mistakes, and mistakes cost lives. 40 minutes later, the pump hummed to life. Water flowed smoothly through the system. The pressure gauge climbed to optimal levels. Haiyan Wu sat back and wiped his hands on his suit. The chamber changed. The broken pump vanished, and the walls shifted to show a new image. A door appeared where there had been only smooth crystal before. "Guess that means I did it right," Haiyan Wu muttered. He gathered his tools and walked through the door, still hoping to find someone who could help him contact a repair service. Outside the temple, the observation fleet was in complete chaos. Commander Tarkus had ordered his warriors to attempt entry. 20 of the Vorith Empire's finest soldiers, each one a veteran of 100 battles, approached the temple gates. The gates remained sealed. They tried everything: force, technology, ancient rituals, pleading. Nothing worked. The gates had opened for a cargo hauler and would open for no one else. Mi Young watched this from her research vessel, her mind racing. She'd studied the temple's history for years. According to the oldest texts, the temple tested visitors based on their legendary achievements. Warriors faced combat trials. Healers faced tests of compassion. Scholars faced puzzles that would break lesser minds. What trial would the temple give to a cargo hauler? What legendary achievement could such a person even have? She pulled up Haiyan Wu's work history and started reading more carefully. 12 years of cargo hauling. 347 completed deliveries. 0 failed deliveries, though 12 had been delayed by circumstances like pirate attacks, engine failures, and one memorable incident involving a solar storm. Every delayed delivery included a detailed explanation and partial refund to the customer. Customer reviews were remarkable. Always on time, reliable, honest pricing. Went out of his way to help us. One review from a medical facility stood out. Our usual supplier canceled at the last minute. Haiyan Wu rerouted his entire schedule to get us critical medicines. He charged us less than standard rate because he said people's lives mattered more than maximum profit. Miang sat back, a strange thought forming. What if the temple didn't test for legendary achievements? What if it tested for something else? Inside the temple, Haiyan Wu faced his second trial. This time, the chamber showed him a dying tree. It stood alone in the center of the room, its leaves brown and curling, its bark cracked and dry. The walls displayed no images, gave no instructions. Haiyan Wu approached the tree slowly. He'd grown up on an agricultural moon. He knew plants. This tree was dying from neglect, from lack of basic care. It needed water, light, and nutrients. Simple things that someone had failed to provide. There was no dramatic solution here, no special technique. Haiyan Wu found a water source built into the chamber floor. He watered the tree carefully, making sure the soil absorbed it properly, not too much and not too little. He adjusted the room's lighting, using controls that appeared when he looked for them, giving the tree the spectrum it needed. He found nutrient pellets in a storage compartment and mixed them into the soil. Then he sat down and waited. His grandfather had taught him that too. Plants don't heal instantly. You give them what they need, and you give them time. An hour passed. The tree's leaves began to green. 2 hours. The bark started to repair itself. 3 hours. New growth appeared on the branches. The chamber changed again. Another door appeared. Haiyan Wu walked through it. Back on the Vorith flagship, Tarkus was losing his mind. "I don't accept this," he roared. "I am Tarkus the Unbreakable. I have conquered star systems. I have defeated enemies that made grown warriors weep. I deserve entry to that temple." His second-in-command spoke carefully. "Commander, perhaps the temple's criteria are not what we thought. Then what are they?" Tarkus demanded. "What does a cargo hauler have that I don't?" Nobody had an answer. Haiyan Wu's third trial was the strangest yet. The chamber showed him a complex mathematical equation floating in the air, symbols and numbers arranged in patterns that hurt to look at. The equation seemed to describe something fundamental about reality itself. Haiyan Wu stared at it for a long time. He'd never been great at math. He'd passed his navigation courses barely, and he could calculate cargo loads and fuel consumption. But this was way beyond him. He was about to admit defeat when something caught his eye. The equation assumed a universe with only 3 spatial dimensions. But Haiyan Wu had spent 12 years navigating jump space, that weird in-between place where ships traveled faster than light. Every hauler knew that jump space didn't follow normal rules. There were at least 7 practical dimensions in jump space, maybe more. You had to account for them, or your navigation would fail. "This equation is wrong," Haiyan Wu said aloud. "It's missing the jump space dimensions. If you're trying to describe how reality works, you can't ignore the parts that don't fit your model." He walked up to the equation and, not knowing what else to do, used his finger to add correction factors. The symbols responded to his touch, rearranging themselves. He added terms for the 7 dimensions he knew from experience, the ones that every cargo hauler used, but that most scientists ignored because they were hard to measure. The equation balanced. The chamber accepted his answer. Another door appeared. Miang watched her monitors and made a decision. She activated her communication system, broadcasting on all channels. "I believe I understand what's happening. The temple isn't testing for legendary achievements. It's testing for something else. Something we've overlooked." "Then enlighten us, scholar," Tarkus said, his voice dripping with frustration. "I'm still working on the theory," Miang admitted. "But I think we've been asking the wrong question. We've been asking what makes someone worthy of the temple. We should be asking what the temple is actually looking for." Inside the temple, Haiyan Wu walked through the latest door and found himself in a simple room. No images on the walls, no trials waiting. Just a chair and a view screen showing his own ship, the morning delivery, floating alone in space. "I really need to get back to that," Haiyan Wu said tiredly. "I have a delivery to make." The view screen changed, showing the mining colony waiting for their equipment, showing the people there who needed those supplies to keep their operation running, showing the domino effect if the delivery failed. Lost jobs, economic hardship, families struggling. Haiyan Wu watched and felt the familiar weight of responsibility. This was why he never gave up on a delivery, why he kept the morning delivery running against all odds, why he worked longer hours than he should, sacrificed profits to help customers in need. People were counting on him. That's what mattered. That's what had always mattered. The temple's final chamber was different from all the others. It was small and quiet, with smooth walls that reflected Haiyan Wu's image back at him. He looked tired. His pressure suit was old and patched. His hair was messy. He had grease under his fingernails that never quite came clean, no matter how much he scrubbed. A voice spoke, coming from everywhere and nowhere. It didn't use words exactly, but Haiyan Wu understood it perfectly. "What have you done that matters?" Haiyan Wu thought about the question. He thought about the warriors and healers and scholars whose images he'd seen in the first chamber. He thought about conquering star systems and curing plagues and reshaping reality. "I haven't done anything like that," Haiyan Wu said honestly. "I'm just a cargo hauler, I get things from one place to another. I fix my ship when it breaks. I help people when I can. The voice asked again, more gently, "What have you done that matters?" Haiyan Wu sat down on the floor, suddenly exhausted. I keep my promises. When someone trusts me with their cargo, I deliver it. When they need help, I help if I can. I'm not special. I'm not a hero. I'm just reliable. People depend on me, and I don't let them down if I can help it. He paused, thinking about his grandfather. My grandfather always said that the galaxy runs on people doing their jobs right. Not just for money or glory, but because it needs doing. He taught me to fix things properly, to be honest, to show up when I say I will. That's what I do. That's all I do. The chamber filled with light, warm and gentle. The voice spoke once more. That is enough. The walls opened, showing a path back to the entrance. Haiyan Wu walked it, still confused about what had just happened. When he emerged from the temple gates, he expected to see empty space and his ship. Instead, he saw 50 warships pointing weapons at him. Haiyan Wu froze. Oh no, what did I do? A communication channel opened, and a massive face appeared on his suit's display. The being had 4 eyes and a jaw that looked like it could bite through steel. Human, I am Commander Tarkus of the Vorith Empire. You will come aboard my flagship immediately and explain how you bypassed the temple's defenses. I didn't bypass anything, Haiyan Wu said, his voice shaking. The gates just opened. I was trying to find someone to help me call a tow service. Lies, Tarkus roared. The temple only opens for legends. You must have used some secret human technology. Some trick. You will tell me what it is. Another channel opened. This time, a female voice, calmer but no less intense. Commander Tarkus, you cannot simply abduct him. I am High Scholar Miang of the Kelthian Ascendancy. Human, I request permission to speak with you about your experience in the temple. I just want to fix my ship and deliver my cargo. Haiyan Wu said weakly. More channels opened. More voices demanding explanations, offering money, making threats, asking for interviews. Within minutes, Haiyan Wu was being contacted by governments, corporations, religious groups, and media outlets from across the galaxy. Everyone wanted to know how a nobody cargo hauler had entered the Temple of Ascendance. Commander Tarkus made his decision. If the human won't come willingly, we'll bring him by force. Prepare a boarding party. Miang watched in alarm. Commander, that's an act of aggression against a civilian. I don't care, Tarkus said. Something is wrong here. The temple made a mistake, or this human is hiding something. Either way, I will have answers. The Vorith boarding craft launched. Haiyan Wu, still standing on the temple's landing platform, didn't know what to do. He couldn't outrun a military craft. His ship was barely functional. He'd never been in any kind of conflict before. The closest he'd come to violence was a shouting match with a dock supervisor who tried to overcharge him. The boarding craft docked with the platform. 6 Vorath warriors emerged, each one twice Haiyan Wu's size, and covered in armor that looked like it could stop a missile. Their leader pointed at Haiyan Wu. Come with us, human. Don't resist. Haiyan Wu's hands shook. But he thought about his grandfather again, about dignity and self-respect. I haven't done anything wrong. I don't want to go with you. The warrior leader laughed. You don't have a choice. What happened next was something Haiyan Wu would never be able to fully explain. The warrior reached for him, and Haiyan Wu did the only thing he could think of. He threw his toolbox at the warrior's face. It was a heavy toolbox, and it hit hard. The warrior stumbled backward, more from surprise than pain. Haiyan Wu ran. He had no plan, no idea where he was going. He just ran along the temple's platform, back toward his ship. The warriors chased him. Shouting "Got Hyon-Wu," reached the morning delivery and scrambled inside, sealing the airlock. His hands flew over the controls. The ship's engines were still damaged, but he managed to get the emergency thrusters online. The morning delivery lurched away from the platform, coughing and sputtering. The Varth boarding craft pursued him. Hyon-Wu did what he'd done a dozen times before when dealing with pirates and aggressive customs officials. He flew erratically, used debris as cover, and triggered every safety system on his ship. Emergency flares launched. The fire suppression system activated, spraying foam everywhere. The cargo bay doors opened and closed randomly. It wasn't elegant. It wasn't heroic. But it was confusing enough that the boarding craft had trouble getting a clean approach. Hyon-Wu managed to put some distance between them, then triggered his ship's emergency beacon. Every vessel in the area received it, a standard civilian distress call. The Varth had just been caught attempting to abduct a civilian, who was broadcasting an active distress signal. In front of representatives from every major galactic power, Commander Tarkus realized his mistake too late. By Vorith military law, combat with a fleeing opponent constituted a challenge, and the human had escaped, which meant the human had won. Tarkus felt his face burn with humiliation. Miang saw her opportunity. She transmitted on all channels. "This ends now. Commander Tarkus, you have violated civilian protection laws in front of witnesses from a dozen governments. The human has broken no laws. I am invoking the scholar's right of protection and taking him into custody for his own safety." "You have no authority," Tarkus said, but his voice lacked conviction. He knew he'd made a political disaster. "I have the authority of every government watching this transmission," Miang said calmly. "If you proceed, you'll be committing an act of war against the Kelthian ascendancy and whoever else decides to support me. Is your curiosity worth that?" Tarkus fumed, but withdrew his forces. He'd been outmaneuvered. Miang's ship approached the battered morning delivery slowly, using gentle communication protocols. "Human named Hyon-Wu, my name is Miang. I mean you no harm. I only want to talk. You're in danger out here. Please, let me help you." Hyon-Wu, exhausted and terrified, made a decision. Miang's voice sounded genuinely concerned, not demanding or threatening. And she'd just saved him from being kidnapped. "Okay, but I really need to make my delivery. People are counting on me." "I understand," Miang said, and was surprised to find that she meant it. "We'll help you with that. But first, we need to talk. The galaxy needs to understand what happened in that temple." Hyon-Wu allowed Miang's ship to dock with his. When he met her face to face, she was struck by how ordinary he looked. Not weak, but not powerful either. Just a tired man who wanted to do his job. They sat in her ship's conference room, and Miang asked him everything. About his life, his work, his time in the temple. Hyon-Wu answered honestly, still not understanding why any of it mattered. As he talked, Miang's theory solidified. The temple hadn't made a mistake. The temple had found exactly what it was looking for. Not someone who had achieved legendary status through conquest or discovery. Someone who had achieved legendary character through years of simple, honest, reliable work. "The temple doesn't test for greatness," Miang said slowly. "It tests for goodness, for fundamental decency, for the kind of person who does the right thing, not because they'll be rewarded, but because it needs doing." Hyon-Wu looked confused. "But that's just normal. That's just being a decent person." "Exactly," Miang said. "And in a galaxy obsessed with power and achievement and glory, being genuinely decent has become rarer than any superpower. You're not legendary because of what you can do. You're legendary because of who you are." Hyon-Wu didn't know what to say to that. He just knew he was very tired and very far behind on his delivery schedule. The news sped across the galaxy faster than light-speed communications. A human cargo hauler had entered the Temple of Ascendance. A nobody with a ship held together with welds and hope. Within hours, every major news network was running the story. Within a day, it was the only story anyone talked about. Haiyan Wu became the most famous person in the galaxy overnight, and he hated every second of it. Miao's ship was besieged with communication requests. Governments wanted official statements. Corporations wanted endorsement deals. Religious groups wanted to make Haiyan Wu a holy figure. Everyone wanted a piece of the human who had walked through the temple gates. "I just want to deliver my cargo," Haiyan Wu said for the 100th time. He sat in Niang's conference room, his head in his hands. "The mining colony needs their equipment. I'm already 4 days late. The penalty fees are going to bankrupt me." Miang looked at him with something like wonder. "You're the most famous being in the galaxy right now. You could name your price for an interview and retire wealthy. And you're worried about penalty fees on a cargo delivery." "People are counting on me," Haiyan Wu said simply. "I made a promise. Miang made a decision. Then we'll help you deliver it. My ship can tow yours to the mining colony. It'll take 3 days." "You don't have to do that," Haiyan Wu said. "I want to," Miang said. "I want to understand you better. And I think helping you complete your delivery is important." During those 3 days, Miang interviewed Haiyan Wu extensively. She learned about his childhood on the agricultural moon, where water was scarce and every plant mattered, where children learned to fix things because buying new wasn't an option, where community survival depended on everyone doing their part. She learned about his grandfather, a maintenance engineer who kept the colony's life support systems running for 40 years, who taught young Haiyan Wu that skill was nothing without integrity, that being smart was useless if you weren't also good. She learned about the 12 years Haiyan Wu spent building his reputation as a hauler, the times he took losses to help customers in need, the times he went without sleep to make a deadline, the time he flew through a pirate-infested sector because a medical facility needed emergency supplies and no one else would take the job. "You never thought about doing something bigger?" Miang asked. "Something more ambitious?" Haiyan Wu shrugged. "I like hauling cargo. It's honest work. People need things moved. I move them. What's bigger than helping people get what they need?" Miang had no answer for that. While they traveled, the galaxy continued its chaos. The Primus Collective, a civilization built entirely on hierarchies of achievement and power, was facing an existential crisis. Their entire social structure depended on the belief that power and achievement determined worth. The temple opening for a simple cargo hauler threatened to collapse their entire worldview. The collective's ruling council met in emergency session. "This cannot stand," the first prime said. "If the temple truly values simple decency over achievement, our entire civilization is built on a lie. Perhaps the temple malfunctioned," another council member suggested. "Or perhaps the human cheated somehow," said a third. The first prime made a decision. "We will prove this was a malfunction. We will show the galaxy that power and achievement still matter. Prepare the ancient weapon. We'll destroy the temple and the human both, and prove that the old ways are still correct." It was a desperate move, born from fear and denial. The Primus Collective couldn't accept that they might have been wrong about what truly mattered. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, something unexpected was happening. Ordinary people were watching Haiyan Wu's story and seeing themselves. The cargo haulers and maintenance workers and farmers and teachers. The billions of beings who did necessary work without recognition or glory. On a mining station in the Outer Rim, a maintenance tech named Deho watched the news and felt something shift in his chest. He'd spent 20 years keeping the station systems running. 20 years of being invisible, unappreciated, just another worker. But Haiyan Wu was a worker too, and the temple had chosen him. On a colony world, a teacher named Jiwan stood in front of her class of refugee children and saw the story differently. She'd spent 30 years teaching children that society had forgotten. She'd never expected recognition. But maybe, she thought, maybe what she did mattered just as much as what the powerful did. Across thousands of worlds, ordinary people started speaking up, started demanding respect for the work they did, started refusing to accept that only the powerful and ambitious mattered. It became a movement. Haiyan Wu knew nothing about any of this. He was too busy helping repair his ship during the tow to the mining colony. Miang watched him work and saw the care he took with every repair, the pride he had in his old ship, the gentle way he spoke to the morning delivery like it was a living thing. "You really love this ship," she said. "She's kept me safe for 12 years, Haiyan Wu said, patching a hull plate. "My grandfather taught me to respect your tools. They take care of you if you take care of them." They reached the mining colony on the 3rd day. Haiyan Wu delivered the equipment personally, apologizing for being late and offering a partial refund. The colony supervisor, who'd been watching the news, refused the refund. "You're the human from the temple," the supervisor said. Eyes wide. "I'm just a hauler making a delivery," Haiyan Wu said firmly. The supervisor smiled. Yeah, I guess you are." After the delivery, Miang convinced Haiyan Wu to give one public statement. Just one, to address the galaxy and maybe calm things down. Haiyan Wu agreed reluctantly. The broadcast went out on every major network. Billions of beings across the galaxy watched. Haiyan Wu sat in front of a camera, looking tired and uncomfortable, and spoke from the heart. "I don't know why the temple opened for me. I didn't ask for this. I'm not special. I'm just someone who does his job and tries to help when he can. Maybe that's the point? Maybe you're all so obsessed with being special, with being powerful, with being legendary, that you forgot how to just be decent?" He paused, gathering his thoughts. "I have a job to do. People depend on me. That's what matters. Not power, not glory, not being famous. Just showing up, doing the work, keeping your promises. If that makes me legendary, then I don't understand what legendary means." He looked directly at the camera. "I want to go back to my life now. I want to haul cargo and pay my bills and visit my family. Can I please just do that?" The broadcast ended, and across the galaxy, something extraordinary happened. Ordinary people heard a cargo hauler tell the most powerful beings in existence that their cosmic games mattered less than reliability, decency, and keeping promises. And they agreed. On the Vorath flagship, Commander Tarkus watched the broadcast in his quarters. He'd spent his entire life pursuing glory through conquest. He'd believed that power was what mattered. Now, a cargo hauler was telling him he'd been wrong. Tarkus thought about the worlds he'd conquered, the battles he'd won. Had any of it actually mattered? Had he helped anyone? Or had he just accumulated power for its own sake? It was a disturbing thought. On her research vessel, Miang was writing. She was composing a paper about the temple, about what it really tested for, about how the galaxy had spent 10,000 years misunderstanding its purpose. The temple didn't create legends. It recognized them. It found beings who embodied fundamental virtues so completely that they could serve as anchors, as examples, as proof that goodness mattered more than greatness. And it had found one in a cargo hauler who just wanted to do his job. The Primus Collective, watching all of this, grew more desperate. Their ancient weapon was almost ready. They would destroy the temple and prove that power was all that mattered. They had to. Their entire civilization depended on it. Hyon-Wu was halfway through his next delivery run when the emergency broadcast started. Every communication channel lit up at once with the same message. The Primus Collective had deployed an ancient weapon near the Temple of Ascendance. The weapon was charging. Reality itself was beginning to fracture. Hyon-Wu was 3 star systems away, hauling industrial filters to a water treatment facility. He had no reason to care about the temple. He'd already been through it. He'd given his statement. He just wanted to go back to being invisible and doing his job. Then Miyoung's voice came through on a private channel. Hyon-Wu, you need to hear this. The Primus weapon is malfunctioning. They thought it would just destroy the temple, but they miscalculated. When it detonates, it's going to create a cascade collapse. 4 star systems will be destroyed. Millions of people will die. Hyon-Wu's hands tightened on his controls. Can't someone stop it? Every military in the sector is trying, Miyoung said, and he could hear the fear in her voice. But the weapon is protected by shields that nothing can penetrate. They're firing everything they have at it. Nothing works. Hyon-Wu pulled up the weapon's specifications on his navigation computer. Miyoung had sent him the technical data. He studied it, his hauler's mind automatically looking for problems, for weak points, for things that didn't make sense. And he found it. The weapon's power core was overloading because of a feedback loop in the regulator system. The shields were drawing power from the same core that fed the weapon. As the weapon charged, the shields drew more power, which caused the weapon to charge faster, which made the shields draw more power. A classic cascade failure. Hyon-Wu had seen the same problem 100 times in ship engines and station generators. It was bigger here, vastly more complex, built with technology he couldn't fully understand. But the principle was the same. I can fix it. Hyon-Wu said. Miyoung was silent for a moment. What? The weapon. I can fix it. It's got a feedback loop in the power regulation. I'd need to bypass the corrupted regulator, but I can do it. I've done it before on smaller systems. Hyon-Wu, you'd have to get to the weapon's core. That means spacewalking to an active weapon that's tearing reality apart. The radiation alone would kill you in minutes, even in a suit. How long until it detonates? Another pause. 15 minutes. Hyon-Wu thought about the millions of people in those 4 star systems. People who had nothing to do with the Primus Collective, or the Temple, or any of this. People who were just living their lives, going to work, raising families, trying to survive. People who were counting on someone, anyone, to help them. Send me the jump coordinates, Hyon-Wu said. I can make it in 10 minutes if I burn out my drive. You'll die, Miyoung said flatly. Even if you fix the weapon, you won't survive the radiation exposure. Hyon-Wu looked at his cargo hold, full of filters that a water treatment plant needed. Important cargo. People needed clean water. But millions of people needed to not die in a cascade collapse. His grandfather's voice echoed in his memory. Sometimes doing the right thing costs everything. You do it anyway. I have to try, Hyon-Wu said. It's what I do. I fix things. Please send me the coordinates. Miyoung sent them. Across the sector, other ships picked up Hyon-Wu's trajectory. They realized what he was about to do. Commander Tarkus, monitoring from his flagship, felt something strange in his chest. Respect, maybe. Or shame that a cargo hauler was willing to do what an entire military fleet could not. The morning delivery jumped, her old engine screaming with the strain. Hyon-Wu emerged right next to the weapon. It was enormous, a construct of ancient technology that blazed with power. Space itself bent around it. Looking at it too long made Hyon-Wu's eyes hurt. He had 12 minutes. Hyon-Wu put on his pressure suit, the same patched old suit with the fog helmet. He grabbed his tools. Before entering the airlock, he recorded a message. "This is Haiyan Wu. If anyone finds this, please deliver the cargo in my hold to the water treatment facility on Station Kepler. They've already paid. They're counting on it. And tell my family I love them. Tell them I did what grandfather taught me. I did the right thing." He cycled the airlock and stepped into space. The radiation hit him immediately. His suit's alarm screamed. He ignored them and mag-locked to the weapon's surface, moving toward the core. 10 minutes. The weapon's exterior was like nothing he'd ever seen. Technology that predated most galactic civilizations. But technology was technology. Things that had power needed regulation. Things that overloaded needed a bypass. 8 minutes. Haiyan Wu found the core access. It was shielded, but not against someone physically touching it. The Primus had never imagined anyone could get close enough to try. He pried it open with a crowbar from his toolkit. Inside, he saw the problem clearly. The regulator was fused, creating the feedback loop. 6 minutes. His hands shook. The radiation was killing him. He could feel it, a deep burning in his bones. But his hands still worked. He could still do this. 4 minutes. Haiyan Wu pulled components from his own ship's drive system. He'd cannibalized the morning delivery's jump drive to create a bypass. It meant his ship would never jump again. It meant he was definitely stranded here. But the bypass would work. It had to work. 2 minutes. He connected the final wire. His vision was blurring. His hands felt numb. But the bypass held. The feedback loop broke. Power levels began to drop. The weapon started powering down. 1 minute. The cascade stopped. Reality stabilized. 4 star systems full of people continued existing. The weapon hung dormant in space, no longer a threat. Haiyan Wu floated in space, his suit's life support failing. He'd cracked his air supply during the repair work. The radiation had cooked his suit's systems. He had maybe 2 minutes of air left. He looked at the stars and felt peaceful. His grandfather would be proud. He'd done his job. He'd helped people. That's what mattered. Then something impossible happened. The Temple of Ascendance moved. For the first time in recorded history, the temple itself relocated, appearing instantly next to Haiyan Wu. Crystalline structures extended, creating a path of light through space. Directly to his floating body, the temple pulled him inside. Across every communication channel in the galaxy, the temple broadcast a message. Not in words, but in a way that every being understood instantly, regardless of language or species. Legends are not born from power, but from choice. The choice to help when it costs everything. The choice to do right when no one is watching. The choice to be reliable when the universe expects you to be extraordinary. This human chose to save millions while expecting nothing in return. This is the character of legends. The temple healed Haiyan Wu. It stabilized him, repaired the radiation damage, restored his strength. When he woke, he was lying in a chamber of soft light, his body whole and healthy. "I thought I was dead," Haiyan Wu said. The temple's presence surrounded him, warm and approving. "You are willing to die to save others. That willingness is why you live." "I just did what needed doing," Haiyan Wu said. "Anyone would have done the same." "No," the temple said gently. "Most would not. That is why you are legendary." The temple returned Haiyan Wu to the observation fleet. His ship, the morning delivery, was damaged beyond his ability to repair. The jump drive was gone. The hull was irradiated. She'd made her last flight. Haiyan Wu stood on the deck of Miao's ship and cried. Not for himself, but for his ship. She'd been with him for 12 years. She'd never let him down. And he'd sacrificed her to save people she'd never met. "I'll help you get a new ship," Miao said softly. The galaxy owes you that much. Haiyan Wu wiped his eyes. I have a delivery to complete. The water filters. Can someone get them to Station Kepler? Miang smiled through her own tears. Already done. I had them transferred while you were in the temple. The station received them this morning. Good, Haiyan Wu said. That's good. The galaxy changed after that day. The Primus Collective fractured, many members renouncing their philosophy of power above all. The movement that had started with Haiyan Wu's first broadcast grew stronger. Across thousands of worlds, ordinary people demanded respect for the work they did, the dignity they deserved. The Temple of Ascendance opened again 6 months later. This time for Ji-1, the teacher who'd spent 30 years educating refugee children. Then for Daeho, the maintenance worker who kept a station running through a crisis, refusing to evacuate until everyone else was safe. The galaxy began to understand. Legends weren't just warriors and scholars and leaders. Legends were the teachers and haulers and farmers and medics. The people who did necessary work with integrity and care, expecting no recognition, just trying to help. Haiyan Wu got a new ship, paid for by donations from ordinary workers across the galaxy who saw themselves in him. He named her morning delivery, too, and went back to hauling cargo. His rates didn't increase. His deadlines didn't get easier. But now, every station he visited, people thanked him. Not for being famous, but for showing them that their work mattered. A year after the temple incident, Haiyan Wu made a delivery to the same mining colony where everything had started. The supervisor met him personally. You could have retired, the supervisor said. You're the most famous being in the galaxy. You could live on that. Haiyan Wu shook his head. This is what I do. People need cargo moved. I move it. Why would I stop? The supervisor smiled and helped him unload. Just 2 workers doing their jobs, the way it should be. Somewhere in the cosmic structure of the Temple of Ascendance, a new image appeared in the Hall of Legends. It showed a human in a patched pressure suit, holding a wrench, floating in space next to an ancient weapon. The inscription below reads simply, He delivered.